This story was shared by a user named Daniel R. on a hiking forum in 2021. Daniel had been hiking that trail for nearly 6 years. Not casually. He knew it the way some people know their own neighborhood. Every bend, every cluster of trees, every uneven stretch of ground where the path dipped slightly after heavy rain. He had walked it in the summer heat, in winter frost, in early morning fog and late evening darkness. There was no cabin on that trail. He was absolutely certain of that. He said the day it happened didn't feel strange at first. Just overcast. The sky was a dull gray, the kind that flattens everything, colors, shadows, even sound. The air felt damp, and there was a faint chill that clung to his clothes. Normal enough. He started his hike in the late afternoon, planning to go out for an hour or two and head back before it got too dark. For the first 40 minutes, everything felt familiar. Comforting, even. The trail was exactly as he remembered. Same narrow path. Same leaning trees. Same patches of exposed roots. Then, gradually, something changed. It started with the silence. At first, Daniel didn't notice it consciously. It was more like a feeling, something missing that he couldn't immediately identify. Then it clicked. There were no birds. Not just fewer than usual. None. No distant chirping. No flutter of wings. No rustling in the branches overhead. He stopped walking. Listened carefully. Nothing. Not even insects. The silence felt complete. Total. Like someone had taken all the natural sounds of the forest and muted them at once. Daniel said that was the moment he should have turned back. And he almost did. He even turned slightly, glancing down the trail behind him. Everything looked normal. Too normal. But he didn't leave. Instead, he kept walking. A few minutes later, he reached a part of the trail he knew very well. A slight curve to the left, where the trees grew closer together, forming a kind of natural wall on either side. It was a landmark he always used to judge how far he'd gone. He had passed that exact spot dozens of times. There was nothing there. There had never been anything there. Until that day. Because as he rounded the bend, he saw the cabin. Daniel said he didn't react right away. His brain didn't process it immediately. It just didn't fit. A structure. Right there. Where there shouldn't be one. He stopped walking. Stared at it. Tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The cabin sat just off the trail, partially hidden behind a cluster of trees. Small. Crooked. The wood was dark, almost black in places, like it had absorbed years of moisture. The roof sagged slightly in the center. One window was open. The other was covered with uneven, mismatched boards. It didn't look abandoned in the usual way. It didn't look old enough. That's what bothered him most. It looked wrong. Like it didn't belong to time the way everything else did. Daniel said the first thing he did was check the trail behind him. He walked back a few steps. Looked around. Tried to confirm he hadn't taken a wrong turn. But everything else was exactly the same. Same trees. Same path. Same bend. Just a cabin that had never existed before. He stood there for several minutes. Not moving. Not speaking. Just staring. Then curiosity took over. He stepped off the trail. The moment he did, he noticed something strange about the ground. It felt softer than it should have. Not muddy. Not wet. Just loose. Like it had been disturbed recently. He kept walking toward the cabin. Slowly. Carefully. The closer he got, the more the air changed. It felt colder. Subtly. Gradually. Not like stepping into a cold room. More like the warmth was being pulled away. By the time he reached the porch, he could feel it clearly. That chill had settled into his skin. The porch itself creaked slightly under his weight. But the sound didn't travel. It didn't echo. Didn't carry. It just stopped. Daniel said that was when he realized something else. Even his own breathing sounded wrong. Quieter. Like the space around him wasn't letting sound exist properly. The door was slightly open, not wide enough to see inside, just enough to show darkness. He stood there, listening. Nothing. No movement. No sound. Just that same heavy silence pressing in from all sides. He raised his hand and knocked. The moment his knuckles touched the wood, the door shifted. Not because he pushed it, because something on the other side did. Just slightly. Like something had been leaning against it. And moved away. Daniel froze. Waited. Nothing else happened. Slowly, he pushed the door open. The smell hit him immediately. Damp wood. Rot. And something else. Something faint. Metallic. He stepped inside. The light didn't behave normally. Even with the door open behind him, the light didn't spread through the room. It stopped. A few feet in. Everything beyond that point stayed dim. Almost swallowed. The furniture looked off. A table too tall. A chair too narrow. A bed too short. It looked like everything had been made by someone who had only heard descriptions of these objects, but had never actually seen them. Then he noticed the walls, covered in carvings. Not clear words, but attempts at them, repeated over and over again. Shapes that almost formed letters, but didn't quite get there. Daniel stepped closer to examine one, and that's when he heard it. A breath. Right behind him. Slow. Deep. Not his. He turned instantly. Nothing. Just the open doorway. The forest outside. Still silent. Still wrong. At that point, he decided to leave. He started backing toward the door. Slowly. Carefully. Not turning his back. Then he heard footsteps. Inside the cabin. From the corner. Heavy. Uneven. Daniel said, his eyes locked onto the darkness. At first, nothing. Then, movement. Something unfolded from the corner. Slowly. Like it had been folded into that space. And was now stretching itself out. Its limbs were too long. Too thin. Bent in ways that didn't make sense. Its movements were wrong. Not smooth. Not natural. Like it was learning how to move. Its head tilted. And for a moment, he thought it was looking at him. But its face was incomplete. Just an impression. A shape where a face should be. It took a step forward. The floor creaked. This time, the sound didn't disappear. It stayed. Daniel ran. He didn't think. Didn't look back. He burst out of the cabin, off the porch, and back toward the trail. Branches scraped his arms. Roots caught his feet. But he didn't stop. Not until he reached the path. When he finally slowed down. He turned around. The cabin was gone. Completely. No structure. No porch. No disturbed ground. Nothing. Daniel said he stood there for a long time, trying to process what he had just seen, trying to convince himself it wasn't real. A week later he went back. Same trail. Same bend. Nothing. But that's not the part that stayed with him. The part that still keeps him awake. Happened the night after. He said he woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of knocking. Soft. Slow. Not on his front door. Not on his window. But from somewhere inside his house. And when he finally got the courage to check, he found fresh scratch marks on the inside of his bedroom door, at a height no human could reach.
There's a stretch of back road in the Appalachians that doesn't show up the way it should. Some maps leave it out completely. Others show it. But wrong. The turns don't match. The distance doesn't make sense. And if you've ever been on it, you'll know almost immediately. Because something about that road doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels intentional. I found it late one night without meaning to. I had been visiting a friend who lived deep out past the usual routes, the kind of place where GPS starts to lag and signals drop in and out like they're struggling to keep up. It was already past midnight when I left. The The kind of night where the darkness feels thicker than usual, like the sky swallowed the moon and forgot to give it back. I wasn't worried. I had driven roads like that before. So when my GPS cut out about 10 minutes into the drive, I didn't panic. I just kept going. Straight road. One direction. No turns for a while. Simple. At first, everything felt normal. Trees lined both sides of the road, tall and unmoving, their branches forming a loose canopy overhead. My headlights cut through the darkness just enough to see the asphalt ahead, but everything beyond that was just black. No houses. No lights. No signs of life. Just road. Then I passed the sign. It was old. Rusty. Leaning slightly to one side like it had been there longer than it should have. The words were barely visible at first, but as I got closer, my headlights caught them clearly enough. Do not stop. I remember smiling a little. It felt like one of those weird local things. A joke. Maybe a warning for something that didn't matter anymore. I didn't think much of it. I just kept driving. 5 minutes later, I saw it again. Same sign. Same rust. Same position. Do not stop. This time, I slowed down. That didn't make sense. I hadn't turned around. I hadn't taken any loops. The road had been straight the entire time. I checked my mirrors. Nothing behind me. No headlights. No movement. Just darkness. I kept driving. The third time I saw the sign. I knew something was wrong. Not confused. Not mistaken. Wrong. Same sign. Same spot. Same exact angle. Like I hadn't moved at all. My chest tightened. I pressed the gas harder, watching the speed climb, trying to outrun whatever pattern I had slipped into. The road stretched ahead endlessly. No intersections. No landmarks. Just trees. And darkness. I took the first turn I saw. Sharp right. Gravel cracking under the tires as I left the main road. I drove fast, barely thinking, just trying to break away. A minute passed. Then 2. Then. The road straightened. And there it was again. Right in front of me. The sign. Do not stop. This time, I didn't slow down. I sped past it. Heart pounding. My breathing uneven. I took another turn. Then another. Left. Right. Didn't matter. Every road led back. Every path curved into the same stretch. Every attempt ended the same way. The sign. Waiting. That's when I noticed something else. The road wasn't just repeating. It was changing. The trees were closer now. Leaning inward. Their branches stretched over the road, forming a tunnel that blocked out even the faintest hint of sky. My headlights didn't reach as far anymore. It wasn't just darkness. It felt like something was absorbing the light, pulling it in. I rolled down the window slightly. The air felt wrong. Heavy. Still. No wind. No insects. Nothing. Even the sound of my engine felt muted, like it was being swallowed before it could travel. Then my GPS flickered. Just for a second. The screen came back to life, showing a route. One straight line. No turns. No exits. Just forward. And beneath it, a warning. Do not stop. Then it went black again. That's when my car started slowing down. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But the speedometer was dropping. I pressed the gas harder. Nothing. The engine was still running. I could hear it. But the car wasn't responding. My chest tightened. Come on, come on. I pressed the pedal all the way down. The car kept slowing. Then I saw the sign again. Closer than ever. Right ahead. Waiting. Do not stop. The car rolled to a stop directly in front of it. The engine died. Just like that. Silence. Not normal silence. Not the kind you get when a car turns off. This was deeper. Heavier. Like the world itself had gone quiet. I tried to start the engine again. Nothing. Again. Nothing. My hands were shaking now. I reached for my phone. No signal. Not even a flicker. Then I heard it. A footstep. Outside. Slow. Deliberate. I froze. Another step. From a different direction. Then another. And another. They weren't rushing. They weren't running. They were walking. Circling. I turned off the headlights. I don't know why. Maybe instinct. Maybe fear of being seen. The moment the lights went out, I saw them. Shapes. Moving between the trees. Tall. Thin. Too tall. Their limbs looked wrong. Too long. Too loose. Like they weren't held together properly. They moved slowly. Carefully. Like they were studying the car. Studying me. One of them stepped closer. Close enough for me to see its outline clearly against the faint grey of the road. Its head tilted. Just slightly. Like it was trying to understand what it was looking at. Then something touched the side of the car. A hand. Long fingers. Dragging slowly across the metal. The sound was soft. But it echoed inside the car like it was right next to me. Another hand touched the other side. Then one from the roof. They were surrounding me. Not attacking. Not rushing. Just touching. Feeling. Learning. Then a voice. Right outside my window. Why did you stop? It wasn't angry. It wasn't threatening. It sounded curious. Like a child asking a question. I didn't answer. I didn't move. The handle on my door shifted. Slowly. Testing. I grabbed it from the inside, holding it in place. My hands trembled violently. Why did you stop? The voice asked again. Closer now. Almost inside the car. Something hit the roof. Hard. The entire vehicle shook. I flinched. My grip slipped. The handle moved. Just a little. But enough. Then everything went quiet again. Completely. No footsteps. No movement. No voices. Nothing. And then the engine started. Violently. Like it had been forced back to life. The headlights snapped on. The trees looked normal again. The road was empty. No shapes. No movement. No sign of anything. I didn't wait. I slammed the gas and drove. Faster than I ever had. The road stretched ahead. And for the first time, it didn't loop. It didn't turn. It didn't bring me back. I reached the highway. Lights. Cars. Noise. Normal. I pulled over and sat there for a long time. Trying to understand what just happened. Trying to convince myself it wasn't real. When I checked my maps later, that road didn't exist. Not on GPS. Not on any map I could find. Nothing. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm driving alone, my GPS glitches. Just for a second. And a route appears. One road. Straight ahead. No turns. No exits. And just before it disappears, a message flashes on the screen. Do not stop. And now, I don't think the road loops. I think it waits for the next person who doesn't listen.